What we're going to do is we're going to continue solving systems of equations by graphing. Instead of doing linear equations, we're going to add quadratic equations. So what I like to do is I like to start off with my linear equation, and then the second one that I draw is the quadratic equation. So when we're looking at the first one, what we have is y equals 2. So on the y-axis, I go to 2, and since there's no x value, that means the slope is 0, so I have a horizontal line. For the second equation, I'm going to look at my quadratic. I'm going to use the vertex. This is vertex form. The vertex is 2, negative 2. So I plot a point at 2, negative 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the pattern for graphing quadratics. If a quadratic is 1 away from the vertex, 1 squared is 1, and negative 1 squared is 1. And 2 squared is 4, and negative 2 squared is 4. So this right here gives us our quadratic, and we can see that it crosses twice. So that means that we have two answers, our first one being 0, 2, and our second one being 4, 2. Now looking at the second one, once again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with my linear equation, and then I'm going to graph my quadratic equation. So for my linear equation, what I have is my y-intercept is negative 2. So I plot a point at negative 2. My slope is 2. That would be the same as 2 over 1. So from this point, I go up 2 to the right 1, up 2 to the right 1. And I'm going to draw my line. For my quadratic, I don't have a parenthesis, so that means it's not in vertex form, but I see that there's no b value. That means the vertex is at 0. And then if I plug the 0 in, 0 squared is 0, minus 1 is negative 1. Now, just in case you forgot, whenever it's in standard form, it's negative b over 2a in order to find the vertex. So whenever we don't have a b value, it's just automatically 0. So 0, negative 1 is my vertex. I'm going to follow the same pattern. If something is 1 away from the vertex, 1 squared is 1, and 2 squared is 4. So I draw my graph, and I see that in this case, it crosses once. So that ordered pair would be 1, 0. Now, looking at our third one, instead of a linear and a quadratic, what we have are two different quadratics. So I'm going to graph both of them. For the first one, once again, no b value. So my vertex would be 0, negative 3. I plot 0, negative 3. I follow the same pattern. 1 away is 1, 2 away is 4. And then for my second one, my vertex is going to be 0, 1. Once again, whenever there's no b value, the x is 0. If I plug a 0 in here, 0 squared is 0 plus 1 is 1. So 0, 1. And 1 away is 1, and 2 away is 4, because 2 squared is 4. Now, this one right here, if we're looking at it, what you should notice is that the lines do not cross. So that means our answer is no solution. So sometimes we have two answers, sometimes we have one answer, and sometimes we have no answers. Pause the video for a second, try those next three, and then see how you do. So if we're looking at the next one, once again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with my linear equation. And if I'm looking at this, y equals x, this right here would be the same thing as 1x plus 0. That's what it would look like if we were to put in all the values. So we know that our y-intercept is 0 and our slope is 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1 to make sure our line is straight. And then for our quadratic, our vertex, we have parentheses. So negative 1 would be the vertex form. So negative 1. And then to the right and up, and then to the right 2, and up 4. And we see that this graph crosses twice. So it crosses once at -1, -1, and it crosses again at 0 and 0. Here we have another one in, well, let's actually start with the linear. So x equals 2. It's not a y, so we go along the x-axis at 2, and we draw a vertical line. And then for the second one, we see that the vertex would be 1 and 3. This one's a little bit different because when we plot 1, 3, we notice that it goes down. So when we follow our pattern, when we go over 1, we go down 1. And when we go over 2, we go down 4. And so looking at this, we see that it crosses once at 2 and 2. Okay, our last one. If we're looking at our last one, what we notice is that we have our vertex for the first one is going to be 0, -4. Once again, because there's no b value, there's an a and a c, no b. And so 0, -4. And when we follow our pattern, 1, we go up 1, go over 2, we go up 4. And then for the other one, what we have is 0, 4. And so we go up to 0, 4, we go down 1, and then we go down 2. And that right there gives us our graph. When we're looking at this, what we notice is that it crosses twice, one at -2, 0, and the other one at 2, 0.